a sister podcast.
It's non-binary podcast.
The other podcast is called It's All About Relationship. And you can catch that on Spotify and everywhere where you listen to podcasts. It's a Christian podcast. We have lots of guests. We have authors, actors, producers, writers, and sometimes just me, but I normally have a guest. And the last one we did was Pastor Thad DeBure of Your Jesus Journey, and that was an awesome behind the scenes kind of thing that we did, and that's the most recent one we did on It's All About Relationship. Okay, so that's the end of the commercials.
Do you have guys that have their cord coming out of the side of their head like this and are wearing socks on their headphones?
No,
guys like that?
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, you should though.
We do that here on this one. See, on this one we do anything. It almost.
I think I would like to see your sister.
I don't know what that meant, but all right. Do we have a sponsor today?
We do. We have our sponsor. The sponsor is Fig Newtons.
Oh my.
Fig Newtons. Now, first of all, there is a song that goes with Fig Newtons from way back, and I think the 60s. And it goes something like this. Ooey gooey, rich and chewy inside. Tender flaky, golden cakey outside. Put the inside in the outside, and it's good. Darn tootin'. It's a Fig Newton. One more time. It's a Fig Newton. Yeah. I think you can actually see that commercial on YouTube, which is pretty funny in itself. So here it is. This is the Fig. I love Fig Newtons, by the way. Thank you very much. I can hardly stand it. And by the way, this is not the actual size. This is bigger to show detail of what's going on inside of the cookie.
The actual size?
No.
What does it say it on the package?
It says right there. It says enlarged to show detail.
Okay, good.
And
false advertising.
Well, they didn't want you to think that the cookie was actually this big. So, because look, that's a pretty big cookie when you look at it. But it also, it's got real fruit. It's made with real fruit. It has no high fructose corn syrup and has 5 grams of whole grains. So this really is more of a breakfast cookie, possibly healthy food, if you ask me, because it has 2 of your 5 things: fruits and whole grains.
Wow, it's got
right there. But thank you very much. And
they can't get enough of you. Let's hear it for him.
I'm on a roll. You guys.
Live audience here.
You guys.
Yeah.
You guys, you gotta stop it. You gotta stop it. And they're soft and chewy. So when you eat, and it's got to be the real Fig Newton because you can't get the fake brand.
Okay, you have the actual package.
This is the actual package.
Are there actual Fig Newtons?
There are actually Fig Newtons inside, and as you can see, it's much smaller than the picture.
I think. You know what? I think we should have you actually try one right now.
Oh, I would.
Wait. Wow.
Excellent cookie. It was an excellent cookie. Thank you.
You guys got to kind of hold it down. We got a show we're trying to do here.
It's healthy. I know. The crowd today is wild.
I know. We've got more than that. And if you're interested in free tickets to join our show in person, drop us a line and we'll shoot you out there. In studio right here.
You'll have to get here though to one of our places, and then we'll let you in for free.
We're thinking about an all expense paid trip and having a contest. We're thinking about that. Probably not much longer though.
It's just in the early thought processes. We're gonna have to have some more Fig Newtons before we do that.
All right. What else is going on here?
What else? Well, you know what's been very interesting is David came out to Tennessee to see me.
I did. I came out
and my mother-in-law.
Yeah, and to see his mother-in-law
Yeah.
and his wife. And it was
Yeah.
awesome time.
We had a good time.
We did. We went to I'm in South Carolina. We drove up to Asheville and we visited the Biltmore.
Not Nashville, Knoxville.
No, well, Asheville.
Oh, Asheville, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Asheville, yes.
Yeah, you could do that.
We visited the Biltmore Estates. Did you know the Biltmore Estates has 178,000 square feet in the main house?
No, that's too. Unless you didn't really want to see your wife for a while.
Yeah,
nobody needs a house that big.
178,000 square feet. I mean, the house you live in is probably a couple thousand. I'm kind of guessing something.
It is. It's only a couple thousand.
Mine roughly too. So we could fit 80 of our houses. Something
right?
Yeah, that's just nuts.
So
we went there and we did that. We went to the winery. We toured that. Had a good time, and we stayed overnight. And then we went up to the Knoxville area, where John and his wife and mother-in-law and his sister-in-law, and her husband. So we got to see everybody, but mostly we got to see John and his mother-in-law. The whole 5 days we were there. It was awesome. We had a great time.
Had a good time. We spent a lot of time together. That was good. It was very fun.
And one of the things we did, we went to. I'm going to see if I can pull it right up on my screen here, and see if I can share something with you. Let me see. Let me try it here. Hold on, folks. I know this is going to be tough. There we go. Can you see that, John?
No.
Uh-oh. Really? Oh, what a bummer. I'm trying to show the audience something.
It's tougher than we thought.
Well, that sucks. No, okay. Never mind.
The in-studio audience is going to go crazy. You did it earlier.
Oh, I did do it earlier. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, now I got it. I know I do. Okay. Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
All right.
We're all waiting.
You don't see that yet?
No, we don't.
Oh, shoot. I may even have to edit this thing later.
This reminds me of a. Oh, there it is.
Oh, you got it? Okay. Check this out. No, I'm doing a video because we're in Hollywood. And I try to be creative.
There it is.
That's top and going somewhere.
That's the lovely Dollywood.
Yes. There we go. There's keep watching now. Don't leave. There's you guys. There's my wife too, and Chris.
It's like your old Uncle Frank when he does the video.
There it is. There's us at Dollywood. That was us right there.
Oh, that was us. Yes.
Oh my gosh, Dolly. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You go.
No, I have to say this about the Dollywood. It's a really fun place. It's very clean, very fun.
It is.
It's not as big as Disneyland, but it doesn't seem to be as small as Knott's Berry Farm. So it's kind of right in the middle there.
Yeah,
but
you're right. It is.
That it's a very very, very family oriented thing. Yeah. Like they had a really cool gospel group that was playing in one of the theaters there. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, we saw that.
But I was never a Dolly Parton fan until I moved out here. But really, when you go there, you have such an amazing respect for that woman. Mm-hmm. That I have found, at least for myself, she's an incredible person. What she does for the area, so Dollywood is in Sevier County, which is where we live in Sevier County, and she pumps a lot of money into Sevier County because that's where she was born.
Her organization giving away like 1 million books to the kids.
Yeah, they do like a whole book thing. They give books away to younger little kids. Yeah.
And I said 1 million, and I wasn't exaggerating. I think it's actually
it's
that.
Yeah, it's probably higher than that. But she's very, very, very big. But it's just just her business, just everything about that woman is nothing like you might think. And still on top of it all, she's just a great human being. And gives back to the community where she was born and raised, and I've really gotten to have a huge amount of respect for her, as a person, and
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's
It's a great park too.
yeah.
I mean, it's like John said a second ago. It's kind of in between Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, but it has the feel, I think, of Knott's Berry Farm more than
Yeah.
you've ever been there, which is in Buena Park, California. If you've never heard of that, but it's kind of a Western town type of thing, and like John said, very family oriented. They have museums there about
Mhm.
Dolly, but about country music in general. They
Right.
have a lot of live shows. I mean, the place is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we went out. We took a ride on the coal train, the train that they have there. It goes around the park, and it has a little announcement on it that tells you, because if there's an emergency, you can pull this cord, right? You can pull the cord, but they do have some rules for
Yes.
what is an emergency. Like, you drop your phone. That is not an emergency. You can't, make it stop and they'll jump off and get. And if a piece of like coal, like flame should come and hit you in the eye,
That's not an emergency.
it's not an emergency.
Right.
And they will proceed to the next stop. So your eyeball could be on fire, but that is not considered an emergency.
Exactly.
And apparently they have to tell you that because apparently it's,
Right.
it must have happened at some point, and then they
Yeah.
didn't stop and people got upset. But
Yeah.
But so-
Another thing we did, if you remember, I just thought of this. I wish I had. I do have video, but I don't have it ready. So sorry about that, folks. But we went to the Stampede.
oh yeah.
The Stampede. Why don't you tell them about the Stampede?
The Stampede also, there's several of these. It's kind of if anybody from California might be familiar with like Beach Boulevard area, where they have like the knights and they fight each other. Medieval times. They have something like that here also. Then they have the Stampede, which is kind of like a medieval times breakfast, or a dinner theater type of situation where they have food and they serve you food. And then there's cowboys chasing cattle and having contests and all that kind of stuff as it goes it goes on. And so you have two teams of rival feuding groups.
Yeah, they called it the North and
Like the North and the South. Yeah,
right, kind of like the Civil War thing.
Like the Civil War, and so they're roping cattle, and they're chasing cattle, and they're chasing buggies, and there's all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of like medieval times, only Western style.
It was very, very cool.
It was very fun day.
And they even pulled John from the audience.
Oh God.
And
God.
I should have pictures of this.
You should have pictures.
Okay, next episode, I'm going to try to figure it out where we can share.
Yeah,
some with you.
they pulled me to do a horseshoe thing where it was a contest with the horseshoes. Only the horseshoes were toilet seats, and you had to throw the toilet seat across the thing and hit the one closest to the little thing, just like horseshoes. And I did pretty good there till the very end.
The first one, you were right there, and we were in the lead. Our side was in the lead.
Yeah.
Then the other guy kind of tied it up, and then he took you out at the end.
He took me out right on the darn post, man. The guy did it. He must throw a lot of toilet seats because that one hit right on the post. I'm not very good at throwing toilet seats, so we didn't get it there.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and the food was great. So it was really good. It was really good.
It really was. Okay. Oh, you know what I got to do here?
What do you got to do?
Don't leave. You ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Oh,
okay,
that's transitional music.
That was transition. I'm going to do it again just in case you.
Okay. Oh gosh, that was frightening.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I know. I can feel it right here.
Yeah.
Speaking of TV and movies and things. Okay, John and I are both. Before we started the show today, we're just kind of rapping and talking to each other and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And we both happen to be watching the same TV series.
And actually, Dave said, "Hey, I want to do a review."
Yes.
And I said, "Oh, I want to do a review." And he goes, "Well, let's hope it's not the same one. And then he mentions it, and of course
And it is the same one.
It was the same one.
It's the same one. So we're going to give you a short review on a series that we're both watching.
Yeah.
It's called House of David.
Yeah.
And it's last I heard it was number 2.
Oh, really?
On Prime Amazon. Last I heard it was number 2, and it could be number 1 for all I know. But there's I'll let John talk about it in a minute here too. But I'm going to give it personally. I'm giving it 2 thumbs up. If you haven't had a chance to watch this, I think it's awesome. It's the story of the psalmist David, who later became king. I'll let John, add in his thoughts on it too. But basically, it's from when David was a little boy, and they take him up through when he was king. And in the first season, I think it's just basically because I have to watch 2 more episodes tonight. There's 8 episodes in the first season. I know they're having a season 2. I believe the second season is when David became king, but the first season is when he was a psalmist, and he was. I don't want to give away too much, but he was
he's a musician, and he calms the anger and spirit of Saul.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I just didn't know if I wanted to get too far into it. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's like the place he meets. I mean, they come in contact with each other without knowing what's actually happening, which is interesting in itself as a story.
And you've heard of the story, audience. I'm sure you at least heard of the story of David and Goliath. Well, this is that David.
Right. This is the guy who does him in.
Yeah. And what I think, in my personal opinion, is that they do a really, really nice job with the writing, the directing, the acting, the CGI, the special effects, the costuming, the music. I mean, I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
9 out of 10. That's my heart.
I agree with you. I haven't gotten as far as David has, but I have been super impressed with it. From the biblical standpoint, not everything. Of course, there's the embellishments of what's like the side stories, the things you don't see in the Bible, the lives of these individuals, which is fine. We don't know what really went on, but it's good. The stories are good. The everything makes sense, and it actually, I think the way they did it, this is what I really found great about the television series, was that it's a lot like in I feel this way about the way they did The Chosen as well, where they took these individuals that are these Bible, they're bigger than life characters.
Right.
I mean, everybody, Goliath and Saul and David and the whole group is bigger than life characters, and they actually take them out of this bigger than life idea that you might have as you're reading the Bible, and they bring them down to like people.
Right.
So now they're people, and things start to make sense. So the things that they're doing and what's happening and all those kind of things start to make sense, because you're not just getting a story about these people, but you're actually going, that makes sense, like why they would do something like this, or why this would happen, or why that would happen, or I'll give a little, for instance, it doesn't spoil anything, but David's older brother is kind of mean to David.
Yeah.
And in the Bible, there's actually this moment where when David is in the camp with all the soldiers, and they're looking down at Goliath, screaming stuff up at him. And David says a few things, and his brother actually gets all pissy. And there's this whole rant in the Bible about David's older brother getting on David. And, kind of comes from nowhere, because you don't really know about their family. But they take advantage of that. And you can go, oh, yeah, okay, it makes sense. These kind of things make sense. Where what David's brother says to him at that moment seems like a history has gone on between these two that we don't know about.
And they show the history, a lot of it.
Yeah, they give you some history. Yeah, and we don't know if that's exactly what happened or anything, but it makes those moments that you remember in the Bible, it makes those moments make sense, and you're starting to go, oh yeah, and then it takes them and makes them people, makes David people, and all these kind of things, And what's great about that, which is also great about The Chosen, is that when you see them as people, and they're brought down to that commonality of an actual living person who makes mistakes and, can't do this or can't do that, is that you realize God can use anyone, anybody. He uses Saul, who comes from the smallest tribe and the smallest family in the tribe. It's like that's God's history.
Right, and he's raised up to be king of Israel.
Right. And David is the smallest kid, and even Samuel, when he goes to pick the king, thinks it's going to be the older brother first, and it's not.
And he talks to all the brothers, and I think there's 7 of them, if I remember right. And he goes to each one, and he looks each one in the eye. It's like, is this the guy? And God tells him in his heart, no, this is not the one. Goes to the next one, then the next one, the next one. Finally, at the very end, Saul or Samuel is really confused. He says, like, basically, I thought it was here, And then he asks Jesse, he says, do you have any other kids?
Right.
That way, oh yeah, I got one other kid. He's out in the field. Bring him on in, and then it turns out that's David. So
yeah, and what's great, and I love this also because it's in the Bible, but it really kind of is a glossed over point where but I think they make it a great moment is that so David has to the daughter has to go out, get David, and bring him back, and he's out there. And so they go, let's sit down and have something to eat while we wait. And Samuel says, no, we will stand. And it's almost like you'll stand for who's going to be king of Israel.
Yeah.
You'll stand for the king. And it's in the Bible. It actually says we will stand and wait. But it's almost like this minute. Yeah. But there you got this moment of, oh, no, you don't get to sit down. You're going to stand and wait because you didn't bring him over here, and he's going to be the king of Israel. Yeah. And you're going to have that respect, whether you like it or not. You're going to respect him by standing and waiting. But there's also a moment where I think they missed, which is a great moment. I don't know if they said it. I can't remember, and I didn't remember it being said. But is when he goes to the first son, and he's bigger, he's stronger, he's handsome, and God says to Samuel, "I don't always pick the handsome, the best, I
look in the heart."
Yeah.
It's not.
I look into the heart.
Yeah, but yeah.
And I don't know. I don't remember that being that first moment with him, but I don't. I'd have to go back and watch and see if it is. But it's all those things is what I like about it. Is we've spent so many times as Christians, as Bible people, making these stories up, and we always make them all look, like I was saying to you earlier, they have halos on the top of their heads and they can do no wrong.
Right.
But the truth is, I mean, when you read, you look at the failures of David, and
oh my gosh, yeah. He was he was an adulterer and a murderer.
Right.
And
he did some things.
So somebody's watching this right now didn't know that. What? David was an adulterer and a murderer?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty mean and pretty. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. You're pretty down low when you think about it. But the thing is his repentant heart and his the other thing is, well, I don't know what will happen later on, but in the Bible, he's every time before he went out, he prayed to see if this is what God wanted him to do. And that's the whole thing about David is he's a man after God's own heart.
Exactly.
But it's just the idea of how they've done the series where they've made these people real, even the giant. Yeah. And made them real people. So it's not something weird. It's like, these are people. These were real people, and they had, there were things about them. And I really, that's what I'm so much enjoying about that. And they've been kind to the writing. So they haven't gone outside of something and done something bizarre. Right. They've done things that you would expect them to do.
You could believe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've made it very real. So if you like The Chosen, I think you'll really like it.
Yes, David. I think you will like this.
John and I both highly recommend it to you. It's created by John Irwin, who also was responsible for I Can Only Imagine, and oh gosh, a couple of the other ones too. Let's see,
Um,
uh,
uh, yeah,
Jesus Revolution.
Jesus Revolution,
Yeah,
right?
and others too. The part of David is played by Michael Iskander, if I said that right. Ali Sullivan. Did I say that right? Yeah, Ali Sullivan plays King Saul, and there's a cast of thousands.
Yeah,
But
really
yeah,
well done. Really well
really,
done.
really well done. Like I said, I give it a 9 in my book. That's just me, 4 out of 5 or however you want to put it. IMDb rating actually has 7.2. That's
Hmm.
what they've got with 7,000 people that have voted on it. So that's definitely a B plus type of thing. So anyway,
Yeah,
so
and if you like this, I think you'll like The Chosen. It's kind of,
oh yeah, absolutely,
I think you'll like them both. So
absolutely. And so let me. Oh, oops.
that's our thing right there.
Trying to show you something. See that? See what we just did? Yeah, that's kind of what we do.
And movies.
Yeah, yeah. Movies,
Yep, that's
a little
us.
bit of everything else. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, that's funny. It brings me to another. Oh wait, you want to do a transition?
we should do. Well, I don't know. Do
What?
we need to do a transition?
I don't know.
Uh, you should do a transition. I lost my transition. Never mind. Oh wait. Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
But it does that whole having that kind of bring the Bible to life kind of thing, which is kind of cool to see people make mistakes and see what they do to try. Even Saul's attempt to try and come back from life, and what it does is it focuses you on, as you're reading the Word, and you go back and you want to really examine Saul and what he was doing, what he was going through. You actually see where, oh, I get it. I get why God lost faith in him as a leader, and why he walks away from him. Because we may think it's just like, oh, but he wants to be okay this time, but he's consistently disobeying God. He's consistently walking away from him. And even when he says, I'm going to change, then he doesn't change. And and so you start to look for those moments where you can kind of go, oh, I get it. And especially the contrast between him and David. But with that, I was having a
I felt a change coming.
I was actually the lead-in was that there's been so much craziness going on. I mean, people lighting Teslas on fire but online, I've seen so many things where I felt really bad because people aren't very nice right now. It seems like they don't care. They don't seem to care about each other, and that is something that I think is just lost. We are a country that set its moral compass on a Judeo-Christian value system, and I know that's frowned upon in a lot of areas, but it's the truth. You can read. If you read the texts, you will see that Judeo-Christian value system. And even if you read some of the writings of the founding fathers, you can see the battles in that area that go on. And even Ben Franklin, who's not looked at as really a very religious person, really makes some very valid points about what the goal is when we're building the Constitution, when we're building the country, what kind of moral compass we wanted to have as a country, because you had to have something to keep it together as a group, some way to look and go, that's not right. That's not right behavior as a country. And I even remember, I don't know if David, you can remember this. We're not far apart in age, but
I'm a lot younger than you are.
Yeah. And and I remember back a long time ago where people would complain that there's not much of a difference between Republicans and Democrats. And that's because as a whole, we were always a people that rallied around that kind of value system, right, where what really separated us apart were how to live those values, how to what kind of things we wanted to do for the country. And that's where our arguments came from. And then now it seems like we've tossed that all away, even pushed it away in some cases, that we just want to say those values are even wrong in some instances. And I'm not getting, I don't want to get political, and I don't want to talk about whatever the people out there may think I'm talking about. The truth is, we should be able to listen to each other and talk, and be able to discuss where our differences are, rather than looking at someone who's been your friend for 30 years and all of a sudden they voted for somebody you didn't vote for, and you just say no. Or family members where I'm not even going to go see my family anymore. And I'm like, I remember having a discussion with a friend of mine, and we are on opposite sides of the political spectrum. And we were not in agreement about a specific subject. I don't want to bring it up, but what the subject was. But we began to talk about the subject, and he talked to me about why he felt a certain way, and I talked to him about why I felt a certain way. And what I realized was we came into this thing where we were like, "You're right." We were
able to have a conversation.
We were able to have a conversation, and not only a conversation, but we were right. And those things, we were saying those things needed to be addressed. Those things should be addressed. And you're right that, and we actually came to a point where I understood completely his perspective, even if I didn't
saying what he was saying, or
and even
saw it,
and even though I may not have agreed with him totally, I completely understood his position, and I even agreed with that's something that does need to be changed. And when I brought that position up to someone else, they were like, "Oh no, you can't do that because of this." And I thought, for that, I'm willing to do that because that's a need. It was actually where we could have come to an agreement, but out there, it's almost like we don't even want to talk.
Well, a lot of times we listen to respond. We don't listen to listen.
Yeah.
Meaning you're talking to me, and I'm not even hearing what you're saying. I'm just creating an argument in my mind to blast you off your rock, without even really listening to what you're saying.
Right.
So we listen to respond, not to understand.
Yeah. And even just tearing down the other person, just ripping them apart and tearing them down, just because of maybe their belief system, or because of who they voted for, or because of why they believe on a certain issue.
Right.
And rather than asking the question why, and then listening to those, because I think if we did that and expected that of our leaders, then what's happening out there in Washington, or what's going on, wouldn't be going on, because we wouldn't tolerate it. And we shouldn't tolerate it. Bad behavior is bad behavior, and it doesn't matter if you're on the right side of or the other side of an issue. And by that I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in an issue. If you can't be kind to another person, if you can't listen to another person, if you can't even empathize, even in your disagreement with that individual, and find out why they feel the way they do, then you're not a kind person.
We can do better.
We can do better, and we should do better.
We should do better.
This should never be the way we behave. We should never behave this way. We should at least know that things are wrong when they're wrong. And when you get online and you start ripping on another person, and
well, we got to stop hiding behind microphones and things. I'm not talking about like right here, but I mean like on Facebook, for example, or Instagram, or whatever social media thing you're on. I see so much stuff on Facebook. It's like, oh, I can't even believe it. I mean, from the left and the right.
I mean, from everyone. I think
it's just
wrong.
It's gotten way out of hand. It's just like, back off, people, back off. Like John's saying, we can be understanding and more, open-minded. Now, I'm not saying to agree with something that you don't agree with, but you can at least listen. And what would Jesus do? He would at least listen.
He would listen, and that's so awesome, because when this is something that's a big deal, and is that there's a couple of times where Jesus does something that you just kind of look at him and you go, wow. There's the woman who is caught
In adultery.
in an adultery relationship.
Like now.
Right. And they grab her out there and they bring him in front of him, and their right
They are right.
is to stone her to death.
That is the law.
That's the law.
That was the Jewish law at the time.
Right. So that's an expectation. That's a Jewish law that's given by Moses, that and there's a reason for it, all those kind of things. And the logic is the logic. But what Jesus does here is make you look at yourself before you do anything else. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We could talk about grace. We could talk about all those things. And the whole idea of him coming in the first place was so that didn't have to happen anymore. But more importantly to him was, you're right. You're right. You should. The law of Moses says she should be stoned to death. So let the first one of you that's sinless, without sin, throw the first stone. And nobody could do it because they all realize that they have done horrible things that may lead them to being stoned.
Right.
And
then they all walk away. And what does Jesus say to her? He says, "Where are your condemners? Neither will I condemn you."
No, and he was the only one who could have thrown a stone at her.
Yeah, he's the only
and
one
doesn't do it.
Right.
And brings about a change. We believe in her life, but right. There's so many times where he's there for the Jewish people, and someone who's not Jewish comes up to him and asks him for healing, and he says, he actually calls them a dog, and says, we don't give our food to dogs, and this is for the Jewish people. And she says to him, even the dogs eat the scraps off the children's tables.
Right.
And he's like, that's the kind of faith, it's that where you stop and you listen to someone else, and you just go, okay, how can we understand each other? Not just you tell me this is what you have to say, this is what you have to believe, this is what you do, and if you don't do that, I'm going to condemn you and get you fired from your job, right, and make your life horrible, burn your Tesla, exactly, whatever. I'm going to get you tossed out of your entire life because you thought something, but don't ask why. Yeah. And for 5 seconds, and the same thing, maybe I don't like what you're saying or doing, and I don't believe what it's against, and worse is it's against what I believe. My entire religious ideology says I can't do that, but I'm still willing to say, how can we talk? How can we live together here and not hurt each other? And how can you be my neighbor next door, and I love you, love your enemies as yourself? How many times you forgive? 70 times 7. And the basic idea is you always forgive, you always love, and if you don't have that, nothing matters.
And again, you don't have to agree with people.
Right? It's not about agreeing.
No.
It's not about, we're going to have our problems, just like the Jewish people couldn't, there's so many things they couldn't do with Gentiles. And that becomes an issue later on in Acts. Yeah. But the truth is that God loves his people, and even though we can't do certain things or can't be around certain things or whatever that case may be, there is no reason why we can't love each other and live together. There's absolutely no reason. Amen. Why we can't respect each other. Amen. So that was all. That's what I wanted to say. That's there.
Good stuff. That's good.
So.
Well, we gave you a lot to think about today, everybody. We talked about House of David. We talked about we talked about the Fig Newtons.
We talked about Dolly Parton.
We talked about Dolly Parton.
We talked about Dolly Parton and Jesus in the same show.
Oh my gosh!
And King David.
Oh, well, there it is. Hey, episode 12. It's a wrap. Share this with somebody that you love. Thanks for joining us today, everybody.
We love you!
We love you. John East, David Novak. And we're out.